time for energy.
So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to one of the most beautiful women I've ever met in my whole life. She comes from a very strict corporate structured background, a very intelligent lady. I've known her for a few years and I absolutely love her. She is so passionate about empowering people to take control of their own health, to be their own doctor. She has researched this water, dissected it, so the information you get today is absolute. You don't have to worry. You can be confident that what she says is true. And she's very, very engaging, and she's full of knowledge. I love her to pieces. Miss Antonina Bureacenco.
Sorry, that's how much love we have. It's kind of jumping. Thank you, Sabina. Oh my God, this makes me tear up. I appreciate that. I love you very much too. Yes, we go a few years back. Actually, it feels like a lifetime or many lifetimes. So I really appreciate it. That's very kind of you. It's just a joy to see you guys here. All these beautiful, excited eyes, all the smiles, all the hugs that we've all gotten today. Thank you very much for bringing that beautiful energy here. And thank you also for bringing your beautiful hearts and very, very open minds. How many of you have seen this presentation or water presentation before? Quite a few. How many of you are here for the first time and have never seen water demo? Okay, that's awesome. So this is why we do this. We want to make sure that everybody gets on the same page. And for those of you who have seen the water demo before, would you agree when I say that every time you watch somebody else present on this, you always learn something new? Yes. This is a fascinating subject. I've studied this subject of water. It's over 7 years now. And I can humbly say, I know nothing. Even though majority of you will probably say, I know quite a bit. And I've heard many scientists say that they've studied and dedicated all of their life to this beautiful, incredible substance, and they humbly would say before passing on their knowledge and before writing the books or before leaving this planet, they would say to other places, they would say that I've studied it all my life and I still have so much to learn. I have not been able to fathom the beauty and the complexity of this simple substance. So this is a really fascinating substance, a substance that I've been fascinated with for many years. I know many of you are, and that's why you brought your friends and family here. So really, really a big gratitude from me and from my heart to all of you. As Sabina mentioned, I have been in this project for quite a while. And actually this water, the water, Kangen water in specific, is the water that started me on the health journey at the level that I never imagined before. I was always very interested in holistic natural medicine. I grew up in a family that was very prone to, holistic natural medicine, and that was they would always use nature and natural knowledge and will use natural remedies before they will ever take myself and my 4 other sisters to the doctor. So they always trusted nature first, and then when needed and when in doubt, they would always take us to a medical professional. And I think that's a very good way of, going about it, because too many of us today, with a little sniffle or with a little, ache and pain, will run to the medical doctor, in order to get a medication. There are more solutions to your problems than medication, and I think many of you know. And so what we'll talk about today, we'll talk about water as a phenomenal substance that helps your body to heal itself, and we'll talk about a wonderful supplement that the same company creates and produces with the most amount of love that we all have access to. So as Sabina mentioned, for the first hour I'll discuss the water. For the next half an hour I'll discuss the Ukon supplement by Enagic. And myself, my background is I did come from the corporate environment. So I started in the banking world in early 2000s, and that was my life. And through that experience in life and going through a very stressful career changes or just overall, stressful, managerial roles, I've put myself through enormous amount of mental, physical, and emotional stress. There were times where I really compromised my health because I didn't have time for myself. I had time for the bank, for the corporation, for the institution, and for all of the tasks that were put on me. And I put myself next. I put myself second. It happens not only to business professionals, it happens to mothers, it happens to friends, and everybody in today's world. People that have a big compassionate heart and love what they do will tend to always put other things and other people before themselves. We always address and help ourselves last. What this water invites you to do is to understand how important it is to take care of yourself, and then you'll have enough energy, vitality, knowledge to support others. Would you agree?
Yes.
So thank you. So what happened to me is that I've kind of, I would say, ruined my health, or compromised my health quite dramatically for a long time. And then when this water came into my life, I have already done an enormous amount of investigation in natural holistic medicine. So I studied nutrition for quite a bit from the personal level. I was a very big, online researcher. And today we can find enormous amount of, none of the university will have as much information as I'll be able to find online. So when people are telling you that, oh, you Googled it up and now you think you're a genius, well, you know what, guys? Anything that's taught in any university, in any school, or any medical journal, any article, any kind of medical reference, it can always be found online. So don't let anybody or any doctor put you down by telling you that what you found online, there's lots of bad information, but there's lots of incredible information. And if you have enough, marbles in your and up here, you will be able to tell apart and critically assess what is right and what is wrong. So don't allow anybody with a medical degree or any degree will put you down for being an incredible researcher and passionate about a subject. Because today, what you're going to learn today, you're going to know more about water and other aspects of healthy life than majority of doctors. So how I started doing enormous amount of health education myself. I've gotten a lot of knowledge. Then I was introduced to this water 7.5 years ago, and I was very skeptical. And then I went on doing my own research. Took about 7 months before I bought my own machine. I was very skeptical. Coming from a corporate background, I couldn't believe that something like this exists and people would know about it on mass scale and so forth. It helped me dramatically. I've had enormous amount of health benefits. I can personally share my benefits, and maybe I'll make that a few statements during my presentation. But then I went on studying deeper and deeper, and the water gave me enough curiosity and interest and empowerment to go into a holistic school, get my nutritional diploma, and then from there on I went to study naturopathic medicine and also orthomolecular medicine, which means studying the science of nutrition and how orthomolecular natural substances that are made by nature in nutraceutical dosages, in large dosages, can help and treat conditions that many medications cannot. So you have to understand there is science on a lot of natural substances, and all of them, as a matter of fact, you're just not made aware of it. Because as my good friend Wade would say, and he said in one of our seminars, is that the dealership, like a Toyota, will not tell you about Lexuses, and will not tell you about Lamborghinis and Maseratis and Porsches or Hyundais and so forth. They will just tell you for what they're selling. So when you go to a medical doctor and when they're only educated on drugs, surgery, and other treatments, that's the only thing they are going to tell you about. And they will scare you away from everything they've never studied, not because they don't want to or they mean bad, because they don't know any better. So it is in your hands to be a self-advocate and become a really well-educated individual, because nobody knows your body like you do. Would you agree? Yes. Nobody wakes up with you, and nobody goes to the washroom with you, nobody puts everything you put in your mouth, nobody feels and hears what's going on in your health. So, disclaimer, we'll talk about health today, but I really want you to understand the statements and information provided here has not been evaluated, I have to say this, by Health Canada and FDA. So, there is more to health than what we'll discuss today. It's absolutely impossible for me to cover everything I have to share with you today in this one presentation, and each one of you is very unique. This is what's really important. Each one of you is very unique. Your situations are unique. So make sure that you consult with a health practitioner, whichever the one that really inspires you. It could be a medical doctor, naturopathic doctor, or in different types of orthomolecular doctors and nutritional therapists and so forth. So make sure that understand that this is information and education purposes only. So let's move on to, why is water so important? In my practice, my nutritional practice was attention to orthomolecular medicine, natural medicine. I always educate my clients on the importance of nutrition. What does it mean? That means that we want to talk about substances that the body is made from. I cannot heal the body by providing it foreign substances, synthetic, non-bioavailable substances that my body is not made from. It's like trying to build a house from substances that are not belonging to as a building blocks. So, and I always ask this question to a lot of my friends, or when I teach, I teach seminars, I was just like, how are we supposed to, I guess the question to you would be, if you're healthy and you're put on the medication, what do you think will happen? You'll get sick. Why? Because with every medication comes a long list of side effects. And if you go to special medical sites, you will find that those will have pages and pages of side effects, not only what you see on the disclaimer on the box. Most people don't have access to a full research or don't know how to see it. So if any medication that's made from synthetic or non-bioavailable substances or is combined with, sometimes medications have natural substances, but they always have to add synthetic and other molecules, other substances that they can patent and create a specific formula so they can patent and charge you quite hefty amounts of money for a specific drug because they want to own that drug. So when you're given a medication and you have all of the side effects happening to a healthy body, how do we expect medications to help the body that is sick? So if the healthy body becomes sick after taking them, what happens to the sick body that takes on the medication? It might suppress some symptoms. It might do some, magic in terms of manipulating some of the outcomes and symptomology and pathology. But you will always have side effects. You will always have, or very often have, congestion of the liver and kidneys and other systems where the body cannot understand or properly discard the substance that doesn't belong in your body. Okay? So water, is that a natural substance? It makes 75% of our body. 75% of our body. So if I'm helping my friends, family, or my clients from nutrition and naturopathic perspective, and I want to give them natural substances for healing, to help the body heal itself, because that's how the body will do it, do you think that this will be an important element to introduce them to? And many people understand water and they maybe drink some water, but what they don't understand that not all water is made the same. So I can definitely give them other substances like different vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, but if I don't give them the largest substance that your body is made from, I'm not giving them enough value as a practitioner. I can give them something that makes up 2% of their body or 0 or 5% of the body, but if I don't give them the 75% of the body and help that substance deliver into the cell, or extract chemicals and pathogens and things that are not belonging in the cell out, I am not really doing my job. So every single client I get to see or every single person I get to help, I always educate on water first as a firing mechanism and as a delivery mechanism. And as a very strong antioxidant mechanism as well, which we'll discuss. So make sure that everybody that you know understand that it's not just drinking water, it's what kind of water you're drinking, and you'll see why. So we have a lot of available options to us on the market. Would you agree that we've all drank tap water at some point?
Yes.
We've all drank bottled water and all these other types of waters. So we have tap water, filtered water, spring water, reverse osmosis water, distilled water, alkaline water that comes from bottles or different filtration systems that add minerals or different chemicals to your water. Then we have ionized water. There's lots of machines today on the market that produce ionized water. They produce them by various methods. Some of them is through dissociation, some of that are also mineral composition and changes in filters, but we have ionized water. Then we have alkaline ionized water. The water that you're drinking today, and I hope you're going to be drinking a lot through the day, is an electrolyzed reduced water. This is the medical or scientific name, one of a few, that discusses ionized alkaline water that's made in the therapeutic form, valuable and strong enough in helping the body with multiple, chemical and physiological changes. So if you want to search this water on the PubMed or other journals, you don't search for alkaline or Kangen water, or you don't search for antioxidant water. You search for electrolyte-reduced water, ERW water, electrolyzed, oxidized water. There are multiple names that refer to it. So make sure that you do the right research and you look in the right places. What's the problem with the bottled water? Plastic, chemicals, so estrogen mimicking toxins that make it into our body every single day. Do we have a lot of hormonal dysfunctions today?
Yes.
Yes, we can argue that, and we can actually just do a seminar on that for 3 hours or 3 days in just talking about how our environment and pollution in our environment with all of these chemicals that do not belong in our body pollute our bodies and occupy the receptors in our body that's supposed to be there for proper minerals, phytonutrients, and vitamins and hormones, and instead they get fake synthetic substances and we start suffering. Thyroid, adrenals, all of our endocrine systems start suffering, our mental health starts suffering. We have a lot of issues that start compiling because of the synthetic chemicals that make it into our body. So bottled water is not only a problem for our health, it's a big problem for the environment. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, great. So reverse osmosis water. This is a good option if you want to do medical tests, if you want to have just H2O in its kind of pure form with a small TDC count, so total dissolved, substances count, in where you can do multiple experiments. So it's okay. It's considered to be a water, pure water that can be used for medical research. This is not the water that is found in nature. Scientifically, a lot of doctors from Russia, doctors from Japan, Korea, they will call this doctor, they will term it a dead water, because the water, once it filters through a special membrane, it takes out all the heavy metals, it takes out all the chemicals, but it also takes out natural occurring minerals that help the water to properly move in the body, interact with the body, intracellular, extracellularly. So we do filter it fantastically. The problem is this water is inert. This water doesn't properly communicate with the body, and it actually, as a matter of fact, will be somewhat acidic and will actually steal minerals from your own intestinal tract, from your own tissues. And then, of course, tap water. Many people are consuming tap water. The problem with tap water is a very large number of chemicals that are allowed in a majority of all municipalities. And some waters are definitely better. In Canada, we're luckier with the kind of water we get from our municipality systems. A lot of places in the US, for example, the water is very, very contaminated because a lot of it is recycled. So when you recycle water, you get a lot of chemicals, drugs, and other, hormones and all those other things. Things that people are taking and flushing out will end up in your water, and they almost impossible to take out of the water. So it's important to understand that tap water has a lot of pollutants in it. It's important to cleanse that water, because if you don't take out those pollutants, they will, just like the chlorine, for example, it's fantastic at disinfecting water from viruses, pathogens, and bacteria. But if you drink that, what happens? You get that chlorine coming into your system, attacking your tissues, because that's a free radical. We'll talk about free radicals. It's something that starts attacking healthy tissues, and something that actually will cause deterioration or lowering of count of your microbiota, your bacteria. Your body has good and bad bacteria. You've all heard of probiotics. So the problem with water that carries into our body a lot of disinfectant agents is that it causes a lot of digestive disturbances. Do we have a lot of digestive disturbances today?
Yes.
Gastrointestinal health issues. So anything from stomach ulcers to interference with pH, it's people's inability to properly, interference with HCl, and so people's inability to properly digest food, all the acid reflux issues. Then, of course, we have a lot of small and large intestinal issues, and that is because gut or small intestine is when we have majority of our immune system. So if we're constantly bombarding our digestive system with chemicals that are neutralizing, killing disinfecting our gut, we're killing good microbiota. We have 35,000 different species living in our intestinal tract, especially in the small intestine. So if we're constantly bombarding with disinfecting chemicals, we're destroying, denaturing that. Okay, so electrolytes reduced water, that is not a new science. This is not a new water that just became famous and popular and everybody jumped on the wagon. No, this has been around for a while. It started over 50 years ago in Soviet Union, and a lot of Russian scientists, the Soviet Union scientists, have done a lot of investigation with electrolysis and having water, dissociation of water. I've met one of the scientists who worked in Moscow with this technology when he was young. He's retired and lives here now with his daughter and wife. And I've met people that have followed that research. And at home, in the Russian magazines at that time, 30, 40 years ago, there was a lot of publications in health and engineering magazines about ionization, and there were people that built little ionizers in their backyards, and they would use this ionized water to treat eczema and all different things. So they understood and they worked with it, but they were afraid to drink it. Japanese are phenomenal. They always look for preventative medicine approaches and for incredible amount of research in orthomolecular naturopathic medicine. So what Japanese did, understanding that science, they actually were the best, and today are the leading designers and scientists and researchers in the field of water in working with technology like the one you're drinking from today. And this is where, but the science evolved for all of these years. The water that you're drinking today and the technology that is used today has evolved for 43 years, starting with being utilized in medical facilities, going down to home, home levels, to home use. So therapeutic water properties. I call it therapeutic water properties. What does that mean? Because any water, if you're in the desert, any water will probably save you and keep you alive. Being alive is one thing, thriving is another thing. Would you agree?
Yes.
So we've all been alive before we became familiar with this technology. Would you agree?
Yes.
Were we less thriving than we are today? Right. So for the body to thrive, the body has to receive incredible amount of nutrients, phytonutrients, antioxidants to help us deal with everyday stressors. And so the phenomenal thing about the water that will provide therapeutic value, and this is, I'm not saying this just because it sounds really good, I'm saying this because it does have scientific backing. There is over, I think, 700 different research papers on hydrogen-rich water, ionized hydrogen-rich water, and on about 170 different physiological elements. So it discusses 170 different disease states from about 700 different papers. So which are possible. They're done. There's lots of compilations done by Korean scientists. There's lots of compilations done by a scientist from Japan and universities and so forth. So what makes this water, therapeutic water, regular from every regular water? So if we're thinking regular water, we're just thinking H2O, and ability to just hydrate on some minuscule level. When we have all of this qualities presented in your water, you having antioxidant, electrically alkaline, and the water that is restructured, that has an electrostatic charge, that water becomes very therapeutic for the body. So it goes beyond than just keeping you alive. It helps the body to heal itself. So let's start with the first property, ORP, oxidative reduction potential. So ORP stands for oxidative reduction potential. The best way to remember is whether the beverages that we're testing have the potential to reduce oxidation. So whatever you're measuring has the potential to reduce oxidation. What is oxidation? Oxidation is free radical damage. Oxidation is influx of oxidizing molecules. They can cause damage to a healthy organism. So what are free radicals? Free radicals are essentially molecules or substances and elements that will have a desire to steal electrons and oxidize healthy tissue or healthy cells, or steal electrons from molecules to essentially rob you of that vitality. So antioxidants are the substances that will help deal with oxidation and free radical damage. So think about free radical damage equals oxidation. What do we get free radical damage from or oxidation from? Food, so toxicity in the food, so whether food is heavily processed, has chemicals, pathogens, or has coloring, preserves, and things like that. If it's not bioavailable, understood by the body, if the formula of your food is not understood by the body, it will cause free radical damage. What else? Stress. So mental, emotional stress, be it relationship problems, driving into today's traffic, having work issues and projects and having extra stress. Non-sleeping is a really, really large oxidizing, free radical damaging state. Excessive exercise. As a matter of fact, exercise or anything, a lot of things in the body cause oxidative damage. Oxidative stress is normal for the body in a certain amount. It's normal for us to have oxidative responses, and the body, even respirations, the respiration will produce some free radicals in the body. But it's when the body doesn't have an ability to deal with excess of that is when we start slipping away into the disease state. So what else causes oxidative stress? Pollution. So air pollution, right? Poisons, yeah. Cigarette smoke, fantastic. You guys are awesome. So all of that causes free radical, oxidative stress. So let's take a look at this chart. We have neutrality. Then we have things that are oxidizing us. A lot of the times the foods or waters or substances that don't have antioxidants and usually have different chemicals, be it plastic chemicals and BPA, BPB, BPC, BP, whatever. They just replace. They would first acknowledge one. It will take them a long time to acknowledge one, and they'll replace it with another toxin. The problem is plastic bottles are made with petroleum. We're not supposed to be eating petroleum substances. And so then you have oxidizing molecules here and free radical damaging molecule. What about tap water? We talked about chlorine and hundreds of other chemicals that are allowed in our environment and in our water. And then of course we have sugary substances. We have chemical substances and other things that we're drinking. So coloring agents and so forth. So what about antioxidants? So we know the vitamin C will be approximately about 15, there's arguments, I guess it depends on the quality of vitamin C. Then we have green tea. The good green tea will actually measure to minus 37, but let's say we got the most beautiful, brilliant, wonderful green tea and it's a minus 100 and it's been prayed over, used with Kangen water, I don't know. But let's minus 100. And the further to the right, or on your left you're going, the more antioxidant the substance is. So let's just have some fun with an ORP meter. So as I said, the meter that will measure the potential to reduce oxidation. So this is something you can purchase in any aquarium store or online. There is no trick to this. I will test all these waters, guys. Many of you cannot see my table, so I'll raise the glasses once I do the testing. What I have in front of me is the kind of a lineup of beverages that are very commonly found in majority stores. So whether you go to 7-Eleven, Superstore or Whole Foods, or Urban Fare, whatever. It doesn't matter how fancy or simple the store is. You will find all of the substances in those stores. You've probably all had Dasani water before, have you? Yeah. You've had Aquafina, Fiji, Smart Water. Has anybody tried vitamin waters and sports drinks? Yes. Yeah, majority of us. So this just represents, if we had all of them here, you know that there are thousands of different options and varieties today. We just picked the most common one, the most marketed, or the ones that probably make the most amount of money on lack of awareness the society has. And so this is just examples. So I'll have Aquafina and Dasani demonstrate us the waters that are reverse osmosis waters or distilled waters. Then we have spring waters. Then we have Smart Mall water. I don't even know the way it's produced. Then we have all of the representation of all the sports drinks. How many of us drank this before and thought this was the best thing on the planet? Yeah, I was one of them too. Okay, we'll talk about that. And then of course, 7-Up will represent all sodas without coloring agents. So just so we can test on it. So it will be a good option for us a good way for us to see how it's made, you know, what it does in the body. Then we have Vancouver's finest, or Burnaby's finest, tap water. Good job, George. We have a man close the bottle and a woman trying to open it.
Yeah, now you know how it is.
I know, poor Diane. I'm joking. Great job. Thank you so much, George. All right, so I'll have this beautiful RP meter. I'll put this probe, so this is a very sensitive probe. It will start measuring on where we fare on the scale. So if I'll put the probe in the first one, what do we see? What do we have here?
Positive
Lovely people in
800.
the front.
Positive 800.
Are you kidding me? Positive 800.
So it's down a little bit.
790. That's for your green selling bottle of Dasani. Dasani. Wow. You know, guys, and the longer your bottle sits somewhere on the sun, in the, you know, anywhere, stored anywhere on the route, exposed to sunlight or heat, the more of the petrochemicals will leach into the water and contaminate it further and oxidize. Let's take a look at Aquafina. What do we have for Aquafina? 760. Wow. So yeah, yes, it's a plus. There's no minus in front of it. Would you agree? There's no minus in front of it. So 750 for Aquafina. Let's take a look at Fiji. One of the most expensive waters on the market. So 650. A little bit better. Is it good enough for us?
No.
No. Let's take a look at Smart Water. How smart is our Smart Water? 640-ish. 640 for Smart Water. I think this meter is really sensitive. I like it. Gatorade. So think about Powerades, Gatorades. 750. Why? Because we have a lot of substances here that I don't believe as a practitioner, as a natural health practitioner, are the best for your body. I'll say that. There's water, the second ingredient there. The largest one is sugar. Dextrose is another form of sugar. We have citric acid. We have salt, sodium citrate, monopotassium phosphate, and modified cornstarch. All the beauties of genetically modified substances and artificial sugars, all packed into one container that are supposed to help you in performance. I recommend you make your own electrolyte drinks using natural minerals, vitamins, and superfoods. So let's take a look at celebrated Pellegrino, or think about per year. What are the numbers here? 600. So positive 590. Freshly cracked Pellegrino. So it does originally come from spring. So it probably has some minerals. It was probably clean enough or taken care of in terms of that. It's in the glass bottle, so that's great. The problem is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a very oxidizing molecule, and this is not naturally occurring. This is infused into this water in a very, very large amount. So under pressure, and a lot of carbon dioxide makes it put into this water so that it gives us that fuzzy, funny feeling, right? So it's not natural for us. Your breathing, your respiration produces carbon dioxide as the byproduct of your breathing. So breathing in oxygen, breathing in air, you use oxygen and you perspire or you excrete carbon dioxide. You don't want to be putting it back into your body if it's not naturally occurring, especially in such large amount. What about carbon dioxide plus sugars? What do we have for sodas? That's fascinating. It's actually less than some of the bottled water right now. Well, again, this test, the ORP meter test one of many items, one item out of many substances in the water, so it doesn't necessarily pick up on certain molecules. But soda will be the worst thing you can drink. Soda, carbonated beverages, because of sugar, and we know that sugar is cancer-causing, because of different chemicals that are added for flavoring and for coloring. In this case, we don't have any coloring, but there's lots of flavoring agents and other substances. So what about tap water? Burnaby.
530.
535. Okay, so still positive, right? All of them are off the charts, guys. Did you notice? We don't even have 500 on the chart. So, and let's take a look at the water that I hope you're drinking today. Just for those of you who don't know, there's water at the back so you can fill up your glass and enjoy it through the seminar. Should I leave it there? So does everybody see a minus and it starts growing? So it went from plus 500 and it started rapidly to going to a minus and it keeps growing in the minus scale. So what do we have there?
Minus 600.
Minus 600. If I was probably to put a probe into a bigger container that's fresher because I wasn't pouring it, minus 700. So again, when I'm pouring something, I'm exposing water to more oxidation, and therefore less antioxidants are left in it. So hydrogen will react with it, so the fresher your water, the higher the hydrogen and antioxidant content of which we'll talk about. So let's take a look at antioxidant values. A beautiful slide by our wonderful Roger. Major antioxidants. So water is a major antioxidant. This is a scale that has a magnitude or a multiplication of 6.9, and when you're increasing 100, when you're taking 100 point strides. So when we're looking at something that is minus 100, like the best green tea out there, or the best highest quality vitamin C, even though I haven't seen them this high, but let's assume and let's be very conservative, how many of these substances you have to consume to get the same amount of antioxidants as you do in a hydrogen-rich Kangen water? Was it minus 200, where we have to consume, 7 times the substance? Or was it 300, where we have to consume 48 glasses of green tea? It was actually all the way down to minus 700. So think about how many wonderful substances and what amount you have to consume to get the same amount of antioxidant. And the beautiful thing about the antioxidant in this case is this is a hydrogen molecule. It's very antioxidant. It's one of the smallest molecules, and it's one of the most potent ones. It will get in the cell. It can bypass any tissue or any barrier. It can easily reach brain-blood barrier. It can easily reach intracellularly into mitochondria. So it's a very, very, very small molecule, very potent, and we can all benefit from it. And the beautiful thing, I have not seen any research that shows any negative side effects, toxicity, or inability of the body to excrete it. As a matter of fact, the breathing alone, if you have too much hydrogen, you will just easily excrete it. So there is no cytotoxicity, or there is no overload of hydrogen that you can get. And as a matter of fact, the deep divers will use a very high, I think 98% of hydrogen content to go really deep down underwater, and they function really well because of it. That's what allows them to function. So you can't really overdose on hydrogen as a fantastic antioxidant. So when we think of antioxidants, what do we usually think of in food? Blueberries, acai berries, goji berries, glutathione, vitamin C, green tea, all of these different beautiful superfoods, green foods, organic, of course, or healthy, without chemicals on them. So when we're thinking of all these antioxidants, what does the body have to do? The body has to take that antioxidant in, so it has an antioxidant food or substance in, break it down, and then utilize some of those substances and molecules to create antioxidants in the body, like glutathione. So for example, the body has to work at processing your food, digesting it, and then using those antioxidants to help you deal with oxidative stress. The beautiful thing about hydrogen, it doesn't require any work. It goes right in without causing any work by the body, or without the body having to put any effort. So this does make for one of the most ultimate, beautiful, most bioavailable antioxidants out there. So let's talk about pH. How many of you heard of pH scale before, or pH diet? When we talk about eating 80% alkaline, 20% acidic, do we see a lot of people in today's life and in today's world eating 80% fruits, vegetables, greens, and only 20% processed food? No. Unfortunately, we live in a society that consumes the food that is highly oxidizing and acidic because it's microwaved, sorry to break it to you, because it's heavily processed and cooked, because it has a lot of chemicals in it, because it's genetically modified, because it's sprayed with petrochemicals day in and night. So when we're consuming something that's highly processed packaged with a lot of contaminants in it, it will be very oxidizing. Unfortunately, everything that's on the Canadian Food Guide pyramid is acidic and oxidizing. What do we have in the Canadian Food Guide pyramid? I know, I'm so blunt. Dairy. People are just like, what did she say? Dairy, meat, and grains. In my practice, I see these things causing the most amount of damage in human body. And those are the things that we're told, not by the government. It's the industry who wrote Canadian Food Guide pyramid and passed it on to the government to advertise to us. So it's not scientifically proven to be beneficial for a human body. You need to know that there is no science behind it. There is corporate interest behind it. You look in a Canadian Food Guide pyramid, it's kind of like everything what not to eat. You can eat some of it, making sure that the body gets enough fruits, vegetables, and greens and other things that your body is meant to eat. But you can't be eating all of that and expecting to be healthy. So your blood is 7.365, which is neutral, slightly alkaline. Your skin is acidic to protect you from pathogens. You have multiple organ systems and liquids in your body that have different pH. So even your gastrointestinal tract, depending on where we're talking about, will have a different pH. So what does the body do? Body always manages pH. It can manage it if it has enough reserves, buffering minerals and chemicals and elements that help the body manage it. Do you think if we're consuming dead processed food, do we get enough of buffering elements? Do we have a lot of nutrients that come into our body as storage to help us deal with stressors in life? No. If we're eating processed, fast food, compromised food, improperly cooked food, we will actually steal a lot of antioxidants and nutrients to neutralize it. Would you agree? So if I consume something that's here, and the body wants to make sure that my blood is not hit with elements it's not supposed to, and so I'm staying alive, the body will use potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, calcium to neutralize this and bring it somewhere here so that when it gets into my digestive tract and gets assimilated into the blood, it doesn't cause any damage or it doesn't cause any blood fluctuation, so it keeps me alive. So the body will always work really hard at it. So the body always manages it. So what does it mean? We want to have a lot of naturally occurring minerals, vitamins, and other substances, phytonutrients and antioxidants that help the body manage this all the time. And when you consume food, yes, your body does get, your stomach does get hydrochloric acid. Hydrogen gas does not interfere with hydrochloric acid. So let's get down to actually looking at pH. And by the way, when you're consuming this water, I would recommend that you consume it before food. It is very, very important to understand the food combining principle. You do want to make all of your, consume most of your drinking substances, and especially water, separately from food. Maybe just a few sips with your food, but usually trying to do it separately from food. This water absorbs really fast, and so 15, 20, 30 minutes later, you can eat. If you're eating a very heavy meal, you probably want to give it more room after you drink the water. But just make sure that you're mindful of it, and you may make sure that your body is given the right chance and ability to digest different elements, and because different substances are required to do the digestion. So I have pH drops, potential of hydrogen drops. So the more hydrogen we have, the more acidic the substance will be, and the less of the hydrogen we'll have in the substance, the more alkalizing, antioxidant the substance will be. So these drops, I'll put a few of them in each glass. And when I speak about them, I'll raise them up so that you can guys see it. I on purpose wore white so you can see them against me as I walk around with glasses. This magic little steering device. So what I did, I just put a couple of drops in all the waters that we tested for ORP. All right, so what do we have with reverse osmosis waters? Can you see that? It's yellowish green, more yellow. So that's acidic, right? Yes. Then we have waters, like this is a filtered water, so neutral pH, and this is a spring water, and they mention on the bottle that it's kind of like managed to be at a specific pH. So Fiji makes sure that we have, actually they used to, not on this bottle, but oh yes, pH 7.7. So they make sure that every bottle tested 7.7, and they can achieve that through chemical alteration. So adding elements into the water or taking out some elements. So we have some potassium, fluoride, calcium, the silica, and other elements that can actually physiologically make the 7 pH or 7.7 pH as they report. So good on them at least for being open and reporting what they have on the bottle. That's really important because a lot of bottles don't actually properly report or advise us what's in there. So we have sports drinks. Usually 3-4 pH because of all the sugars, because of all the artificial substances. If they do put vitamins in there, majority of vitamins that I see, for example, vitamin water, stuff that I see used in those drinks, they're synthetic. Your body cannot properly use synthetic substances. And so what it will do will actually congest the liver and kidneys. So make sure that whenever you're consuming supplements, there's lots of supplements on the market that are not high quality, that are actually synthetically made, or if they're minerals not properly chelated, or they're not in proper balance that's found in nature. So it's really important to understand the quality. Just like water, quality makes a difference. Not all water is made the same. Not all other substances like supplements made the same. It really depends on the quality, ethics, and research of the company that produces them. So then we have Pellegrino. That looks very yellow as well, right? So yellow to kind of like orangey. And then the same will happen to 7-Up. The lighting, I'm not sure how well you guys see it, but the lighting is kind of like orangey yellow. So that is very acidic. Usually soda is about 2.5, 3.5, kind of in the range there. And of course, the less carbon dioxide will have, the more pH, the higher will be the pH because less oxidizing substance is going to be there. But generally, you see very oxidizing substance. And this is logarithmic scale. So if we're seeing something somewhere here, we'll have to do 100 times, 100 times, and 100 times. So if the blood is here, this will be 100 times more acidic, 1,000 times more acidic, 10,000 times more acidic. So you really want to understand how acidic those substances can be. So it's really important to understand that. And then, of course, we have tap water. And the reason the tap water shows to be neutral is because it's regulated. It's mandated by the government, and all the municipalities are regulated to keep the water at about 7 pH so it doesn't rust the city pipes. And I have spoken and confirmed that with people that work in the industry and testing the water municipalities and the chemists that work in the municipalities. So they always use things like lye and other chemicals that, because there's all these chemicals that are highly acidic, they will cause a lot of essential acidifying factors. They will put other alkaline elements to neutralize, to buffer that, so that it's kind of always in about 6.5, 7.5 range is what we usually see for the tap water. So that doesn't mean, just because they can, does it mean it's good for you now? No. Because it really all depends on the kind of chemistry that's used. So it's easy to make chemically altered pH, and this is what you'll see in a lot of, sold technologies today or filtration systems today. They will use alkaline minerals like magnesium. They don't report you on the quality of that magnesium. There are many, many types of different magnesium, some bioavailable, some not. They'll use cheap magnesium, very often calcium, and they will artificially increase the pH through chemical alteration. The water you're drinking, that happened, the chemical alteration, the alteration to pH has happened through electrolysis process, through ionization. This is the process of dissociation in what the water was naturally, we took out the heavy metals, we took out the chemicals, and as the water passes through medical grade plates, it is divided to two different streams, in where by the way of attracting to anode and cathode, to positive and negative, the water is able to split itself in producing alkaline and acidic water without chemical alteration. Nothing is added to our water. Things are taken out. So let's say you're born like this. Let's say we're born to a healthy mother, natural birth, breastfed, We are pliable, we are very happy, we smell fantastically as a child, and then we go through life, and what happens? We keep drinking things we shouldn't be, and we acidify ourselves. So when I say acidify ourselves, we just do a lot of things that cause damage, pollution, and we cause a lot of kind of deterioration. So as that happens, a lot of vital organs and a lot of nutrition is depleted from our body. But we can kind of reinstigate that or help the body to properly return to what it's supposed to be by providing right substances to it. So we're going to use hydrogen-rich Kangen water, and I'm going to add some into Dasani. Have I changed it for the better?
Yes.
Wonderful. And I've done it using hydrogen and other molecules, the water that is it has incredible potential at alkalizing the tissue, alkalizing the water that we're dealing with, alkalizing our organ tissues, not through chemical alteration. So then we've even improved Fiji, because a lot of times when there are chemical alterations, it's really hard to, when it's different minerals, it's really hard to make adjustments. What happens when we look at things like Gatorade? You cannot change this with the same amount of water. If I added 50-50, it will not change. It actually takes anywhere, especially with sodas, anywhere 35, 40 glasses, and there were times where I tested up to 100 glasses of hydrogen-rich, ionized, electrolyzed reduced water to neutralize 1 glass of soda. And this is what our kids drinking in kindergartens, in school. This is when we have vending machines. I do believe these have to have warning labels, but unfortunately the lobby of the industry is too strong. So it takes at least 40 glasses, conservatively, 40 glasses of the water you're drinking today that not many people have access to neutralize one of these. And that's just Pellegrino. Here's the soda. Same thing. Tap water? We can help you. So anything that Gatorade, anything like soda and carbonated beverages, we could not change. And what will happen if we'll put a little bit of soda in an alkaline substance? Can everybody see it? I'll just do one little drop or sip. You guys are awesome. So I'll quickly do that with all of the substances. One little sip, that's all it takes. Just have to get it. Yeah. Very little it takes. Does everybody get an idea? What we're doing when we drink soda, carbonated beverages, or anything that's altered chemically. Same thing happens to all of them. So if one thing you're going to learn today, at least stop drinking substances that do not belong in the body. All right, so we're done with alkalinity. There's a fantastic little video by Dr. Michael Donaldson on YouTube where you can learn about alkalized versus alkaline, the difference between chemical and electrical alteration. So there's a very big difference between how you altered water and the difference between artificially induced alkalinity versus hydrogen-rich antioxidant alkalinity that is done through dissociation and ionization. So let's talk about electrical charge. So restructured water. What this really means, there's lots of misinformation or maybe a little bit miseducation on the way we're trying to explain this third property. Remember I told you for the water to have therapeutic value, it has to be antioxidant, alkaline through electrolysis is the best way, and then so it doesn't interfere with body chemistry. And then the third one is this charge, this electrolyzed charge, this restructured electrically charged water. So when we usually talk about H2O molecules, first of all, they're always, that's what makes up water. Of course, when they're in gas form, they're lighter and they're in a smaller size, and that's when they evaporate. Whenever we have them in liquid form, we usually have more of like this heavy, dense substance, right? And what happens is when you kind of zap the water is what's happening, whether we're talking about lake and the lightning storm hitting the lake, when we have that electricity go through it, when we have the water falling from a waterfall down, that water will be running through and it will be energized. This is why we collect energies from water sources, where we have dams and rivers and all this stuff, and where we're able to generate electricity from water moving, from water creating energy. And so when the water is zapped, or the water is brought back to its natural way, and that you'll find in the moving spring that falls from high altitude, you will find that the molecules, the H2O molecules, will have a charge, and they will repel each other more. They will be moving and repelling and kind of interacting with each other very differently. The water that doesn't have a charge will be tired. It's kind of like let's imagine going to a club or a wedding. And when there's this like a soft song, a very low melody and stuff like that, people are just hugging and lovingly dance together. And so you have that, and there's a lot more people on the floor. And then imagine a really kind of like a rock and roll that comes on, or some kind of a funky, awesome music. Let's say there's reggae on or something like that. And everybody starts really energetically dancing, right? Moving their hands and everything. Does the person that moves and has a lot of energy needs more space?
Yes.
That's what's happening. So when you charge the water, you have more energy. You have there's more repellence, and there is more space between all of these molecules, and there is more bioavailability of this water versus the water that's stagnant, versus the water that doesn't have the charge. Okay? And so when we're thinking about water, we're thinking about permeability and ability of the water to integrate into our cellular membrane, integrate into our body, move the fluids in our body. So when we're looking at our skin, what do we see? We see pores, right? So these pores are breathing. They are expelling and they are absorbing. Would you agree? So we're absorbing different. If I was to put a lotion on my skin, what will happen? It will absorb. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure that whatever you put on your skin you can eat and it's healthy. It doesn't have 35 different ingredients, 95% of which are toxic. You want to make sure that you're using natural, high-quality substances, because everything you put on absorbs into your bloodstream, and the blood has to be filtered by liver and kidneys. Agreed? So now we have the spores. They're breathing in, and what do they expel? Lymphatic, metabolic waste. So we perspire, we detox, right? So as we're detoxing, so there's constant interaction. There is expelling, and then there is absorption. Expelling, absorption, correct? And so the same happens with every cell. Every cell breathes, it eats, and it pees and poos. How do you like that analogy? Okay, everything that consumes has to give off and has to give back. And the interesting thing, people think, well, the blood is what feeds the cells. The blood is what brings the hemoglobin and brings all of these nutrients and brings the oxygen and brings all of this into the cell. Well, where does the waste go once the cell used it up and it has a metabolic waste? It does not go back to the blood, guys. It goes into the lymphatic system, which is several times larger than your cardiovascular system. So it's really important that you're moving, that you're sweating. It's really important that your cells are breathing and that you're cleaning your lymphatic system. It's probably one of the most common misconceptions and things that our medical system does not teach our people about is draining and moving and cleaning your lymphatic system. Those are the garbage cans. That's the sewer system of your body. So make sure that you clean that up. So it can only be cleaned if the water and other substances can get in and can't get out. So the cell has to it has to respirate. It has to keep moving, okay? So the cells have to breathe. So let's take a look at the substances and how specific type of water, how the water that you have access to today has a potential to actually integrate and interact with tissue better than any other water. So what I'm doing here, I have 2 sets of tomatoes. They come from the same box. I should have it somewhere around here. But similar tomatoes. I've put 11.5 water into one, which is Kangen water, specifically utilized for cleaning fruits and vegetables. And then I have tap water washing the second set. So I'm just going to let it sit here for just 2 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to give you and show you an oil test. Roger, thank you for helping me here. So we'll do the oil test. I'll put a little bit of sesame oil. It's a good oil that is not heavily heat processed. So we can actually take a look at its function. So what do we usually know about water and oil? What a chemistry teacher taught you, what a biology teacher taught you. Water and oil don't mix. So because they have different surface tension. So I'll add tap water, and sure enough, it will try to integrate and work together, but it will not be able to. It will separate, right? So you have oil floating on the top, and the water is on the bottom. Same oil. And Kangen water is used. What happened here? It completely emulsified it. We turned it into almost like a milky substance. This, what I believe, that penetration, that ability to, that permeability, that ability to interact with tissues and cells and really move through is what allows this water for the therapeutic function in our body. So it will be phenomenal at energizing cells, like whether fluids, whether it's a red blood cells, whether the blood or lymphatic system cells, it be able to move through the tissues. So was this fun, guys? Yes. The oil test, for those of you who haven't seen it before. And then I'll quickly show you a few colon images. How many of you have seen some colon intestinal views before? This is really important. As a practitioner, we always talk about poo and everything else. Unfortunately, this is just a part of life. And what's really important is to understand how this water interacts with the body and what it would do for the body. So let's quickly run through it. So we have Dr. Hiromashini, one of the best gastroenterologists in the world. Aside of a few inventions, and his technology, his treatments are now utilized around the world. He published incredible books that are translated to many languages. And by the time he wrote this best-selling first book that sold in hundreds of thousands around the world and translated to over 20 languages, he treated 370,000 colons. So this guy understands colon hydrotherapy and colon health. And he often says, just like the eyes are the window to your soul, the colon is the window to the health of your body. And I can't agree with him more. Their colon really represents your ability to detox and assimilate nutrition, because if you're not able to digest and synthesize and uptake nutrition, the rest of your body is not going to be fed. And if your body is not fed by nutrients, phytonutrients, and different minerals and vitamins, your body will not function because it will not have proper molecules to help it to do so. So it's really important. So let's take a look at a few images. I'll run through them really fast. We have breast cancer, chronic constipation. We have 45-year-old woman with breast cancer. This client has been on a few-day cleanse, and she came in to do the intestinal view before, and then 3 months after on Dr. Shrini's protocol. All of this is available. All of his research is available online. So you'll be able to look at 5, 10, 20-minute videos of all of this for those of you who are really interested to understand gastrointestinal health and detoxification. But we're looking at a snapshot before and after. So Dr. Shrini's lifestyle advice is no dairy, no red meat, a gallon of Kangen water a day. He will not work with you if you don't drink a gallon of water a day. And so after 3 months, is there a big change? So majority guys, I will tell you, majority of our society, majority of people in our society carry anywhere from 12, 17, up to 20 pounds of waste in their colons. We don't even understand, because this is a very, very complex and a large surface area. And so a lot of us have a lot of undigested food. When food is not digesting, the pathogens, viruses, and all of that have to come in to digest it for you. For example, Candida is there for a reason. If you're not digesting it, Candida will do it for you. The problem with pathogen digesting your food is they create a lot of toxic side effects. They poo and pee. Sorry, see how much we have to talk about those important elements. So they create a lot of cytotoxic effect, and what happens, your body can't properly detox, and the body gets toxemia. So this person will be lethargic, will have brain fog, will be tired. And so with that, does that look much better? Does that look much cleaner? I cannot imagine achieving that with nutrition alone. So unless person changes their diet completely. So high cholesterol, constipation. If intestinal tract, especially small intestine, is where most of our nutrition is absorbed, do you think this person can absorb a supplement if I just gave him a supplement? No. Very little of that may be uptaken because there is no surface area for the nutrients to be uptaken by the receptors and the colon wall into the bloodstream. So once I clean that up, and if I give my clients water plus nutrition, do you see how much more permeable and absorbable this is? This is a healthy colon, a colon that's able to utilize. And then smoke or prostate cancer. Again, when you do anything that's bad for your body, it's not only bad for your for your lungs when you're smoking. It's bad for every body, every single cell. When you're smoking, all of your cells interact. All of your cells have fluids and liquids, and everything's running around. So, okay. So what do we have? We have this technology is produced anywhere from 2.5 all the way to 11.5. 2.5 is the best disinfectant, kills Salmonella, E. coli, necrotizing fasciitis, MRSA. You will need to use very heavy drugs and very heavy substances to try to treat that. And in Japanese hospitals, this is a very safe and effective treatment where it kills pathogens and bacteria on contact from 30 seconds up to a minute. We have all of the results and lab tests for it. We have 6 pH water that's fantastic for plants, fantastic for our skin. We have neutral water. We have drinking waters, and when you start slow and increase up so that you can handle the detoxification. And we have 11.5 that's used to clean your fruits and vegetables, to do a lot of, there are some medical conditions that can be treated with this water, a lot of application and therapeutic effects externally and internally. So there's a lot to learn about this. We'll be able to discuss this a little bit later. So quickly, the tomatoes, I'll come back to the tomatoes, guys. I just realized, thanks for reminding me, Roger. Huh. That's why they call it a splash zone. I made a mess here for those of you who can't see it. Okay, so with tomatoes in there. Do you see the difference? We just used 11.5 to clean our fruits and vegetables. What do you think this is? Pesticides, herbicides, larvicides, oxidation of different kind. Sorry?
Heavy metal.
That absolutely is very possible. So the water is so permeable. You saw how the water can emulsify oils. So what it means, all of those chemicals are petroleum-based, they're oil-based. So if they're oil-based, when we spray in our food, the rain, so that the rain can wash it away. When you come home, when you clean it in the tap water, it can't wash it off. When you use something that can emulsify fats and oil, fat-soluble, you can clean and degrease your produce from all of the petrochemicals. So we're not just talking about filtered water, overpricing. No, we're talking about medical grade device that produces the waters that I have not been able to witness anywhere on the same level of production and the same level of strength. So fantastic for food, as a food degreaser and the cleanser. So that's for the 11.5. This is how it works. It's filtered first, and then it goes through the chamber of medical grade chamber of metals that allows it to be dissociated, as we discussed before. Quickly on Anespa. Anespa is the shower filter that is also made by this incredible company. It's therapeutic in the sense that it's like having a spring in your home. Having this filter is like having a beautiful spring. The water is filtered from chemicals and heavy metals, and then it, with all this iron-rich minerals, is enriched to provide the body the softness, the beautiful skin, the beautiful hair. So it's a very pleasant, it's kind of like, instead of going to hot springs, you just have one at home every day. So, and why would that be important? The problem with our water, so I have tap water, and then I have some Kangen water, and I'm going to put some pH, I'm going to put a chlorine tester in there as well. So just to show you one of many chemicals that can be found in our tap water. So I have the tap water, and then I have Kangen water. I'll put in chlorine tester in both. You will need to see to highlight the full colors. But what I did here, tap water, does it have chlorine? Kangen water, it does not. If I was to take a shower, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut an apple. If I was to take a shower, it takes seconds. I'll do this. I've absorbed all of the chlorine. So I highly recommend for you guys to look into filtering your shower water. Chlorine is not your best friend. It is fantastic at disinfecting water from pathogens and bacteria, but it also causes damage. As it gets on your skin, it causes damage to your healthy tissue. It absorbs into your bloodstream, and it converts to trichloramines, which are cancer-causing agents. Okay. This is a 43-year-old company, as you guys know, and it's a medical manufacturer, a regional equipment manufacturer. We have offices all around the world, and incredible amount of recognition that you can look up on websites and information that's provided to everybody with all of the certificate numbers and all of the accreditations. It's a fantastic, fantastic solution. The water is also will also become a solution, because a lot of people complaining about the problems in the world. We do have a lot of problems in the world. Environmental problem is one of them, because we're causing all of this pollution. So for those of you who understand and took the time to investigate this, understand that you become a solution-oriented person. Let's not complain, let's become advocates for what's right. And of course, the biggest one that really hurts my heart in understanding, and how a lot of the times our large institution, our large corporate bodies will tell us that we don't have enough money to provide good for all on this planet. So many must suffer because we don't have enough resources.